We're going 36 deep on another rankings episode, this time talking about wide receivers. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into it. Hey, what is going on? Headliner Nation, Kyle Richardson coming to you with another episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Thanks so much for clicking on the video and watching and being here and being a part of this. Your comments, your likes, everything. We appreciate you out there in Headliner Nation. So thanks for tuning in to this episode. Going to be breaking down wide receivers now. Already did the top 36 running backs. So if you haven't seen that yet, make sure you jump back to that video when you're done with this one and check out what I have to say about the top running backs in 2019. Before we get rolling into all of this, just a couple things to get out of the way. First, make sure you pre-order that draft guide at thefantasyheadliners.com, only $19.99. You're not going to get a better deal on a draft guide this year, more bang for your buck. I promise you that it is going to be one of the best investments that you make all season long. Number two, these rankings are not set in stone in any way, shape, or form. It's only June. We have a ton of time left until the season starts. So we're getting closer and closer, but there's still more than enough time to move some guys around. But based on my research that I've done so far and my writings and my videos and everything like that, this is where I currently have some guys. So it definitely could change. Don't worry if you don't like where I have a guy. He could be in a much different spot come week one of the NFL season. So don't worry about that. These things can still change quite a bit. And number three, if you don't like them, that's fine. You don't have to like them, okay? However, if you want to talk about it, make sure you hit up those comments. Let me know below if you think someone's too high, too low, if you have someone in or someone out. Let me know, absolutely. Just don't be a jerk about it. Don't be the guys that came into the running back episode telling me that I was an idiot or I have no idea what I'm doing or I've never done research or... Trust me, people, I spend a bunch of time on this, okay? I wouldn't come on this channel and Jake wouldn't have me here if I wasn't trying to give you the best information possible. So we do this for you, Headliner Nation, okay? Just be positive about it. Let's have that conversation. Let's talk. Just don't be that guy, okay? We appreciate it. Anyway, let's start jumping into it. Let's start talking about these rankings a little bit more. And honestly, at the very top of the rankings, there's not a whole lot that you're going to be surprised by there. Davante Adams, my number one wide receiver this year, an excellent 2018. He had either a touchdown or 100 receiving yards in every game that he played. He was the most, if not one of the most, consistent fantasy players all last season. So he's going to take that top spot for me. DeAndre Hopkins at number two. It's close, man. It doesn't matter which way you went. If you decided to go with Adams or Hopkins, you're going to be getting a stud no matter what. So honestly, you know, when I do these rankings videos, it's really tough sometimes to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all the way down through 36 because when you got a guy like Adams and Hopkins, you're going to be happy with either one. You're not going to hate either one of those picks. It really doesn't matter to you. Maybe there's a little tiny difference. You're saying that's why I'm going to take this guy over that one. That's why I like putting guys in tiers more than I do in numbers, like 1 through 36. But you know, putting them next to a number starts a little bit more of discussion, and I'm okay with that. So either one of those guys you're good with. Number three, Odell Beckham Jr. He's probably a little bit higher than some other people have him. Three is pretty high. One of the higher spots that I've seen. At one point, I honestly thought, you know, he'd have the upside as even a number one wide receiver this year, but can't put him above Hopkins and Adams right now. But his ceiling is absolutely a top three fantasy wide receiver this year. He's got a better quarterback now. He's in a better offense now. I mean, everything in Cleveland is looking up. Now, are they dysfunctional? Who knows? Obviously, there's a lot going on in the media right now about them. Is he going to have a tough time, you know, building that chemistry with Baker Mayfield? Who knows? All of these things are unknown at this point. The only thing that we do know is he's an uber talented player, and if he's healthy and on the field, he is one of the best wide receivers in all of the game. So If he's healthy all year long, this guy is a top 3 wide receiver upside. Coming in at number 4 is Julio Jones, and believe it or not, Julio Jones got better in 2018, and it's tough to say that about one of the most dominant wide receivers in the game for quite some time. 1,677 yards, 113 receptions. This is the first time he's had over 100 receptions since 2015. He got those touchdowns back up a little bit as well, so those touchdowns got all the way back up to 8, which is good to see because that's been a knock on him the last couple of years is he just can't find the end zone. Well, he got there. The one thing I will say about him, it seems like every year people try to say, oh, Julio Jones, he's breaking down. He's not. There seem to be a lot of injury concerns coming up about Julio Jones. And I mean, since 2015, the guy has only, or excuse me, since 2013, the guy has only missed 3 games. So he's been on the field more times than not. He's a safe pick. I would go to say that he, outside of Davante Adams, he's one of the safer picks in all of fantasy football, especially for the wide receiver position. Obviously, Hopkins is there as well, but Julio Jones, again, if you get him, I've seen him slip into the second round of some leagues. If you're getting him in the second round, congratulations. Moving on now at number 5, Mike Evans. Mike Evans had a fabulous 2018. A lot of people, I think, are kind of forgetting about him right now because the hype on Chris Godwin is so high. But if we're going to look at Chris Godwin and say, hey, we need to raise him because of Bruce Arians and the offense that they have in place now, why can't we raise Mike Evans a little bit more as well? And Mike Evans is going all the way up to number 5 for me this year. 1,500 receiving yards last year, a career high. 86 receptions, the second highest of his career. We know the guy is a target monster, and he gets this. A lot of people say, well, the only reason he's good is because he gets a lot of targets. Well, that's not going anywhere. Chris Godwin's not going to take a bunch of targets away from him. You have to remember they lost Adam Humphries, who had a really good year. They've lost Deshaun Jackson. So now it's going to be Mike Evans and Chris Godwin being that solid 1 and 2. And, you know, you got O.J. Howard in there as well. But Mike Evans, he's a beast. He's going to continue to be a beast. If he can get back to double-digit touchdowns this year, this dude is absolutely a top 5 fantasy wide receiver for me. At number 6 is Tyreek Hill. And I know, okay, let's leave those comments for another place and another time. We're going to talk a little fantasy football right now. But with Tyreek Hill, there's no suspension yet, so I'm not dropping him in my rankings yet. Will it happen? I don't know. There's been talk about it. He's also been talked. They've also said they're not pressing any charges, but he's still in family court. So there's a lot of different things going on, and the NFL doesn't need him to actually get in legal trouble to suspend him. So for right now, no suspension has been done. I'm going to keep him at number 6. That offense that we saw last year was a dynamic offense, a really good offense. It will continue to be that. If Tyreek Hill is on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs, it will continue to operate as such, but I'm not going to drop him until something becomes official. Number 7, Mike Thomas, a good year from Mike Thomas last year. Really like him still. You do wonder every once in a while, you know, will Drew Brees start to drop a little bit? He did at the end of last season, really let fantasy owners down. Talking about Drew Brees, not Michael Thomas. So does that happen? Is there an opportunity for Jared Cook to come in and take more targets? Is there an opportunity for a Cam Meredith to be healthy finally? Is there an opportunity for Traquan Smith to step up? Alvin Kamara obviously getting a lot of work there. So Michael Thomas coming in at number 7. He's a wide receiver 1 for sure. Some of the best hands in all of football. Antonio Brown coming in at number 8 for me. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the Oakland offense this year, and I'm not saying the Oakland offense is awesome in any way, shape, or form. I am saying they're going to have to throw a lot. It's a foregone conclusion. That defense still isn't that good. They worked on it in the draft a little bit, but there's still a lot of work to be done out there in that division. They're going to have to throw a lot, and Antonio Brown is going to be the number 1 target there. 359 vacated targets from last season. That's 67.8% of the vacated of the targets from 2018. So a lot of targets are going to be there for Antonio Brown. You have to assume that volume is going to continue to be there. I'm okay with putting him as a wide receiver 1. T.Y. Hilton coming in at 9. Again, love this guy in a high-powered offense. Andrew Luck, great offensive line, one of the better. And T.Y. Hilton is one of the best deep threats in all of football. A 16 yards per reception career average. Keenan Allen coming in at 10, and I think Keenan Allen just continues to be one of the best kept secrets in all of football. And I say that lightheartedly just because it just doesn't seem like when we talk about wide receiver 1s that we talk about Keenan Allen all that much. We're always happy to draft him in that mid to late round 2 area. But I don't see a whole lot of people running out there saying, if I had Keenan Allen as my wide receiver 1, I'd be happy with it. Well, I can tell you that I have several teams with Keenan Allen as my wide receiver 1. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. If you've watched this channel before, you know Jake has that powder blue Keenan Allen signed jersey behind him. I've joked with him that I'm going to come down there and steal that from him one of these times. He's been one of my favorite players for quite some time now. When he came out of the draft, I really liked this guy. So I'm always rooting for him. He's thrown that injury prone kind of label that a lot of people gave him. Played 16 games each of the last 2 seasons. He's thrown that away. 102 receptions 2 years ago, 97 receptions last year. Dude's a stud. What can I say? He's going to continue to be good. I have no issues with him going there. Juju Smith-Schuster, I know I'm going to get a lot of people saying, oh, you're too low on Juju. Well, let me tell you what. If you think Juju is supposed to be the wide receiver 7 instead of 11, that's great. It's not that big of a difference. Again, we're talking, in tiers kind of at this point. I have the number 11 next to him, but the dude could finish all over the map. He's going to be a wide receiver 1 this year. I don't think he's going to fall back into like a wide receiver 2 status. There's going to be a lot of vacated targets. We just don't know how he's going to operate as the true wide receiver 1 there. Did they get him enough help to kind of, keep all of the pressure off of him? Can Vance McDonald step up? The answer is yes, but we'll talk about that on a different tight end video. Can Vance McDonald step up? Dante Moncrief, can James Washington grow this year a little bit more? So, but, another concern for me too, are they really going to throw the ball as much as they did last year? I mean, Big Ben, most passing attempts of his career last year. Will it end up happening again? I'm going to say a little bit of regression is due there. They're not going to throw the ball nearly as much. We'll see what happens. He's still a wide receiver 1, though, for me. And honestly, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference between wide receiver 7 or 11 or wherever you end up having him. I don't think he's going to end up being a top 5 wide receiver. I think he's going to just end up being outside of that. AJ Green coming in there at number 12. A lot of talk about AJ Green. There's a lot of people that don't think he's going to make a comeback this year. They really think his career is done at this point. A lot of people don't trust the Cincinnati offense. And just to speak on that Cincinnati offense a little bit, because there was a lot of people who said my Joe Mixon ranking was way too high. I have him at 6. I love Joe Mixon this season. He's in for a really good year. Don't forget, Jonah Williams fell to the Cincinnati Bengals in round 1. Okay. He was considered the best tackle in the draft, the best offensive lineman in the draft. They get him because he falls down to them. That's a great pickup for that offense. They spent a 4th round pick as well on that offensive line. So they really tried to work on that offensive line. They have a really good run game. AJ Green has help now. Tyler Boyd, had that breakout season last year. I think that helps AJ Green quite a bit. As long as AJ Green is healthy, he's a wide receiver 1 for me. And Zach Taylor, the new head coach there in Cincinnati, he's going to be an offensive guy. He's been around Sean McVay, and I know there's the joke that if you touch Sean McVay or if you're near him, you're getting an NFL interview. But, Sean McVay is one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the NFL. I have to believe Zach Taylor took some of those things with him. So I'm moving forward with AJ Green being a wide receiver 1, which it pained me a little bit to put him over my boy Amari Cooper. I am going to put Amari Cooper as a high wide receiver 2, just because we know that some of those inconsistency issues continue to be there for him. Sorry about that. Had to get a quick drink. Anyway. So Amari Cooper coming in at 13, but that offense rolled after that trade last year, so I have no issues with that. Stefon Diggs coming in at number 14 for me. And to touch on Adam Thielen at number 18, again, a lot of people aren't going to like that Adam Thielen ranking there, but I'm sticking with it. I think these guys are both going to be wide receiver twos, and the reason that I give Diggs a little bit of a bump over Thielen is just because I think Diggs is going to be the big play touchdown guy. Adam Thielen might be a little bit more efficient, might see a few more catches than Stefon Diggs, but I think Stefon Diggs makes up for that in other areas. And just keep in mind, after the Week 10 bye, I know Thielen was nursing some injuries last year. He played through them, though. He was still out on the field. But after the 2018 Week 10 bye for the Vikings wide receivers, Thielen had 50 targets, 35 receptions, 426 yards with 3 touchdowns. Stefon Diggs had 63 targets, 44 receptions, 434 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So Thielen did a little bit more with less in terms of the yards, but it was clear that Diggs was the main guy there down the stretch. So I'm going to have him a little bit higher. Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods, I got them right there next to each other. Brandon Cooks is another guy that doesn't get nearly enough love, and he should. But I think those guys there in Los Angeles are really going to finish very close to each other. Robert Woods, I think, will be a little bit more consistent with Brandon Cooks, but I think Brandon Cooks will have a few more of those big games that kind of just bumps him over Robert Woods. I like them both, though. Tyler Lockett, I tell you what, I'm going to continue to roll with him. I know there's people out there that don't love Tyler Lockett either. They say that this season is going to be that he's definitely going to take a fall down from what we saw last season. There's no way that he can keep up with the touchdowns. He scored 10 of them last year, but we don't know that for sure. 965 receiving yards as well, 16.9 yards per reception. The guy did a lot of really good things last year. I'm not going to jump off that Tyler Lockett train. DK Metcalf is going to come in and be good enough to help. I think he's going to be good enough to help there. They're going to run the ball a lot, though. So the one thing you have to see from Lockett, again, are those big plays. But Russell Wilson, one of the better deep passers in all of football. So I think he can get him the football just fine. Adam Thielen, already talked about him. Calvin Ridley, he's coming in at 19. You see a few of these guys that have a wide receiver 1 and 2 on their team. So you've got, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. You got Evans and Godwin. You got OBJ and Jarvis Landry down there. You've got Tyler Boyd, and then you've got AJ Green up top. So, a lot of these offenses, again, I'm expecting a lot out of them, but they can do it. In Atlanta, Calvin Ridley had a really good rookie year. I highly expect that he's going to build on that. Already talked about Chris Godwin a little bit with Mike Evans. Chris Godwin, I think the hype is a little bit out of control right now for him. I think we rein that in a little bit, but Bruce Arians is going to work some fabulous magic. And if you're saying, hey, Kyle, what's gonna happen with Jameis Winston, because someone's got to throw him the ball, right? Jameis Winston I have as a top 10 fantasy quarterback this year, but we'll talk about that on a different episode. I believe in Arians. I believe in that offense there. I believe in Jameis Winston this season. Go ahead and hate all you want to, but I'm not budging from it. Allen Robinson, I think he makes it back towards kind of the wide receiver that we saw from him when he was in with Blake Bortles there in Jacksonville. But Allen Robinson, I think with Chicago now that he's had a full year with Mitchell Trubisky under his belt, he really builds on this year. And the number one thing a lot of people forget is he was coming off an ACL tear last year. So it was his first year back on the field after that injury. You have to keep that in mind with Allen Robinson, and that's probably some of the reason why he struggled at times last year, but the opportunity is definitely there for him. I still like him as a player. We are going to run him out there. And he is going to have a good year this year. Jarvis Landry, having OBJ next to him helps. So many weapons there. I think Jarvis Landry, because he has that full season with Baker Mayfield already, that he's going to still be trusted by Mayfield in those situations. Tyler Boyd, again, a great breakout year last year. I highly anticipate him keeping up with not exactly what he did last year, but close to it. Kenny Golladay may shock some of you here, all the way down at 24. I'm just telling you, all the opportunities were there for Kenny Golladay last year. There was injuries there. The defense was bad. I just don't, even though he's going to be the wide receiver 1 there, this is going to be an offense that I think is really going to turn to focus on that run game. Marvin Jones will continue to be the deep play threat there, so I think he's going to get a lot of those big touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson is there as well. If you've been a part of Headliner Nation for a while, you already know how I feel about TJ Hawkinson and the Lions. He's still really, really good though. He's uber talented, even though I don't think that was the best fit for him. So I'm going to continue to say that Kenny Golladay, even though he'll be the wide receiver one there, Marvin Jones will still be that deep play threat, taking away some of those big plays, some of those big touchdowns. You'll have TJ Hawkinson also taking away some targets, and they're going to run the ball a lot this year with CJ Anderson and Kerryon Johnson. So I can't quite put him any higher than this right now. But again, a lot of things can change, so we'll see what happens with that. Moving forward now, Robbie Anderson at 25, man, he's the one guy in this wide receiver 3 area that I think could make that big jump up towards, a mid wide receiver 2, if not a little bit better. I believe in the Jets offense a little bit more than some people, and that's okay. I think he's going to be really good this year. I'm excited to watch him this year. I think that offense as a whole, I think Sam Darnold takes another step forward. So Robbie Anderson, I'm probably a little bit too low on him right now. He could definitely jump. Julian Edelman coming in at 26. I know a lot of you are not going to agree with this one because from the time he came back till the time he ended the season last year, he was a wide receiver 1 in PPR leagues. I'm just not buying that New England offense is going to support that type of a wide receiver this year. I think they had Gronk last year. Obviously that's a big thing that we'll be missing now. But now you've got N'Keal Harry there as well. How is Julian Edelman going to do as the focal point of the offense? If you have Rob Gronkowski on the field with you, he's the focal point of the offense, not Julian Edelman, even though Julian Edelman was playing better last year. Julian Edelman is going to be the focal point of that offense now in terms of the defense focusing in on somebody. The focal point, I believe, is going to be much closer to a 50% run, so run to pass ratio. So I think they're going to run the ball a lot as well. But in terms of the defense keying on someone that's going to catch the ball, they're going to key on Julian Edelman. How is he going to do in that type of role, being that guy? Does Josh Gordon come back at some point? I know. I mean, Josh Gordon continues to come up. Who knows? Maybe he ends up making it back at some point next year. We'll see what happens, but I'm not super high on Julian Edelman keeping up what he did last year. So Cooper Kupp going to come in at 27. People love Cooper Kupp. I'm not nearly as big as a fan. He's been good when he's been on the field. Unfortunately, he's had some injuries too. But you can't. I just don't see 3 wide receiver 2s on a team. I just don't see it, especially when you still have Todd Gurley and Darrell Henderson is still there, or is there now as well to potentially help with some of that. So somebody's going to have to lose out. I think that's going to have to be Cooper Kupp. Kind of like what I said with Allen Robinson earlier. Cooper Kupp going to kind of be going through the same thing. He's going to be coming off that injury, so might be some rust that he has to shake off. Will Fuller coming in as a wide receiver 3. He's another guy, if he can stay healthy, that could end up going higher than that and being more of a wide receiver 2 as well. Larry Fitzgerald out there in Arizona. Much love to Larry Fitzgerald. I had him as a wide receiver 1 last season. That was a huge mistake. That offense ended up being terrible, awful, whatever word you want to use for it. Doesn't matter. They were not good. Larry Fitz is going to be a wide receiver 3 for me this year. There's going to be a lot of running the football there. But how much time is Kyler Murray going to have to throw the football? They have a lot of wide receivers there as well. Larry Fitz, definitely a bounce back. Just not expecting a huge year from him. Sterling Shepard is going to lead those wide receivers there in New York. However, are they going to go with Eli Manning? Are they going to go with Daniel Jones? Are they going to be going back and forth? Is that offensive line going to be good enough to give them time to throw? I just don't see the New York Giants having a great wide receiver or I don't want to say good because Sterling Shepard is good. And if you're a wide receiver 3, I wouldn't say it's a bad season. It's a good season. So, but I know there's a lot of people that are much higher on him. I know Jake loves Sterling Shepard. I like him. I don't love him. But most importantly, I don't love that offense. Dante Pettis, one of those breakout guys from last year. He's coming in at 31. Alshon Jeffrey is also going to show up there. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to run the ball and focus on their running backs a lot more this season. Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders are going to make a great 1 and 2 combo there. You have Zach Ertz, obviously. Don't forget about Nelson Aguilar there too. So we'll see what happens with that. But Jeffrey definitely on the downturn of his career at this point. Sammy Watkins, I don't love him here. I'm not a big Sammy Watkins truther. I know there's some guys out there who love him. But I'm going to put him here if he's healthy for 16 games. He's going to help out. Now, if Tyreek Hill is suspended, Sammy Watkins might take a little bit more of a jump for me. We'll wait and see what happens. Geronimo Allison coming in at 34. Now, I will say this. As I'm recording this video, there has been talk in some reports that Marquez Valdes-Scantling is going to be the wide receiver 2 there in Green Bay. I don't doubt that for 1 second if that happens. If you watched this show last year, Jake and I were really high on Marquez. MVS is what we'll call him. So you know how we feel about him. So if that happens, that wouldn't surprise me at all, and I would love to see that. So Geronimo Allison is here right now for me, but I can tell you right now that is probably going to change in the coming weeks. That will be one of those ones that I'll probably end up tossing out the window and replacing them. If that does happen, then Marquez Valdes-Scantling is going to make his way up into this area instead. Anthony Miller coming in at 35, Anthony Miller coming in at 35, DJ Moore coming in at 36. I like Anthony Moore a lot this season. I think he's another guy that could take a little bit of a jump in these rankings. However, again, you got to trust Mitchell Trubisky, and I'm just not a huge Mitchell Trubisky fan. Is he good? Obviously, he's playing quarterback in the NFL. He wouldn't be good, or he wouldn't be here if he wasn't good. So I'm not going to hate on him too much. I just don't believe that he's a top-end quarterback or a guy that can support a ton of fantasy assets. So Anthony Miller going to be a wide receiver 3 for me this year, though. But we do some hot take articles as we get close to the season. One of my hot takes might be Anthony Miller is the wide receiver 1 in Chicago. And honestly, it might not even be that much of a hot take, depending on who you are. And then DJ Moore at 36, outside of Christian McCaffrey, Cam Newton's going to have to throw somebody. It's probably going to be DJ Moore. I like Curtis Samuel as well. We'll see what happens there. But those are the top 36 as of right now in June. It's early. I know. Don't hate on them, okay? Don't hate on them. If you disagree with them, that's fine, okay? Please don't tell me I'm an idiot. Please don't tell me I don't do my research. Please don't tell me any of those things, okay? Can't say anything nice. Don't say anything at all is what your mother would tell you. But again, though, let's have a discussion. If there's someone you saw is too high, too low, let me know. Give me a good supporting argument. I love that more than anything. If people come into the comments below and say, hey, Kyle, I don't agree, here's why, and they give me really good stats, I am definitely one of those people that will change their mind. I would much rather say, hey, you know what, I was wrong, instead of continuing to write a player know in the back of my mind that I am wrong, but I don't want to take it back. So I am one of those guys that will always change my mind if I'm presented with the information that allows me to do it. So let me know below. If you don't think so, why? Give me that feedback and let me know. We're one of the most interactive channels here on YouTube. Don't forget, though, hit that like button, please. Those likes mean a lot to us here on the Fantasy Headliners. We really appreciate that. We appreciate those positive comments from everyone. We appreciate you, Headliner Nation. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, so thank you so much. 31,000 strong right now, closing in on 32 here, hopefully, in the coming weeks. And football season is right around the corner. A lot of big things here, especially that fantasy guide the draft guide that's going to be coming out. And we're also reworking some things with Patreon as well. We have some really cool Patreon things coming too. So if you want to support the channel, you can do that on Patreon. The link is below. We've got some really cool things coming that we're going to be announcing soon that we're very excited for. So thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Fantasy Headliners. As always, it's much appreciated. It's great getting a chance to throw some information out there for you guys and putting together some great content. And we'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one, everyone.